Today we're in Fort Rucker, Alabama at the Chapel of the Wings, or Wings Chapel. This chapel was built, I'm thinking about 2010, because it's very similar to others built around the country on Army posts. Like Fort Leonard Wood, ours was finished I think about 2012. It has at least 11 classrooms, 4 or 5 offices, a large sanctuary that seats over 400, and then you can open up the auxiliary room and have more. It's got a kitchen, fellowship hall, stage, a lot of projection capability. It's a great chapel, one of our new chapels, one of the nice chapels that we have in the Army. Today we're going to talk with Chaplain Daryl Densford. He's one of the ethicists at the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence. We're going to hear what he has to say about, among other things, being passed over for promotion, about his chaplain identity. He'll talk a little bit about his website and his D-Men project. But everything you'll enjoy, though, I think, for the next 30 minutes in Chaplains and Chapels Getting Coffee. Desford, back here. How you doing? Hey, Daryl, welcome. Come on in. This is a nice office you got here. Thanks. I figured it may be my last one, so I went ahead and hung things on the wall. Brought in my books. Mainly what I've got here, I've got my ethics stuff, and then chaplain authored books, chaplain history. I've got some old chaplain issued type items, Bibles, worship books through history, hymnals, and then my military history. And a lot of my chaplain memorabilia here, different memos, photographs, Signal Corps, press photos, things from wars way back, and chaplain history all through there. Got my stuff from Alaska where I just came from, which I appreciate, from the RSO. That's very distinctly Alaskan, I think. The snowshoe. And then my gold pan I got from the community congregation up there. Really cool. All right, well, let's go get some coffee. This is the sanctuary. The sign says, if you look at the sign, max occupation 412. That's a good military term. To occupy the chapel. 412. I'm guessing that might be right, but then if you do the overflow here, you get a lot more. This can be closed off. See the curtains. Got a stage there with projectors, so you can project here as well as I believe on the curtain when it's shut. Coffee's right back here. Yeah, this is where I come nearly every morning. Is this where you make your coffee every day? We didn't bring K-Cups. We need to get You drink much coffee during the day? Usually 1 cup in the morning, sometimes the second one. Yeah, that's like me. About once in the morning, sometimes one during the day as well. We're very similar, you and I. Well, our breath's large. Look at that. Can you see that? That's more like a small. When's it done? I notice that looks like the Trivial Pursuit holder and the little pie pieces you put in there. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Here. That's not large. That's not even half full. Wow. Let's go. Let's get a seat. We'll talk a little more out here. All right. Hey, Daryl, be careful with the coffee. Look at that sign. Let me tell you a story about that. I was in Wainwright. We were doing the streaming I was doing the streaming at the Catholic service at Southern Lights Chapel, and I had it in a travel mug. I had my coffee, had it in a travel mug, set it on the pew. Somehow doing something, moving something, it got knocked over in a travel mug, spilled, and I had to rush out, get paper towels. This was during the service while I was streaming, and clean that up. So be careful with the coffee here. If anybody saw us, probably they'd say, "Get out of here." I want to thank you for being here with me today, or allowing me to come to be here with you. This is our first episode. It's kind of like a trial episode of Chaplains and Chapels Drinking Coffee. It might be a good idea. First question I ask, since you're the one who came up with this idea, tell me a little bit about it. Where'd it come from? What was your inspiration? What's your goal? Your whole idea behind it. What do you want to gain? Or not gain so much, but what do you want this to accomplish? Yeah, that's probably a good place to start. Let me first say, though, since I'm here in uniform, that Daryl and myself both were speaking for ourselves. Not speaking for the Army, not speaking for the Chaplain Corps, U.S. government, nothing. We're speaking for ourselves. So any opinions that may be mentioned here, all ours. So what was your question again? What do you want this to accomplish? Right. So chaplains and chapels drinking coffee. If you watch many shows on Netflix, or if you like Jerry Seinfeld, you've probably heard something similar. He's got a show, or he had a show a few years back called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which I really enjoy. I like comedy. I like Jerry Seinfeld. Some of his guests are but it was as you watched it, it was unscripted. It wasn't like a talk show. They joked some. They talked about their career. They talked about life. They talked about, just about anything, whatever came up, as they would go and get coffee. Now, the car part, Jerry, of course, is a car collector. Jerry Seinfeld talked like I know him. I really don't know him. Now, I did try to find him, though. I thought it'd be cool to get even just a 30-second or 15-second spot kind of promoting this, but that's not going to happen. Anyway, the car part, Comedians in Cars, each episode he'll show a car. He'll drive that car, in fact, to pick up the comedian, but he'll tell a little bit about it, highlight it, all collectible type cars. Some really nice ones, some kind of funny ones, or odd ones, or common, well, not so much common, but different cars. And then he'd pick up the comedians, and they'd just, they'd walk around some, they'd go to shops, but the big thing was they would go to get coffee. So Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Well, I got to thinking about that, trying to figure out a way to pick the brains of other chaplains, especially senior chaplains, and just talk to them informally, unscripted, and just find out what makes them tick, find out what they've learned through their careers, things like that. So that essentially is where this came from, where the idea came from. Totally ripped off Jerry Seinfeld's idea on his show. Hopefully I've changed it enough, it's enough different, that there won't be any lawsuits to get me to cease and desist. But it should be fine, I think. So that's what this is all about. Maybe a good second question, isn't this a little presumptuous for you to be your very first guest on this program? Let's talk about that a little bit. We don't want to get too deep. I'm not here to counsel, but tell me some more. The whole purpose of this one, using myself as the first guest, is kind of like to lay the groundwork. I can use this as a sample to send chaplains that I'm asking if they'd be on my show, so they can see the format, they can see what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm doing. So that's primarily what this is: an introduction to the series, and then a sample to show other chaplains that I want to invite onto the show. Which, by the way, if you're watching this and you have something to say, I don't care whether you're a second, well, you wouldn't be a second lieutenant chaplain, whether you're a first lieutenant or whether you're a two-star general. If you're interested in appearing on my show, if you've got something to say, if you've got a story to tell, or if you want to be a part of this, give me a call. You can find me on Global. My number's on there. You can email me, or you can go through my website address, which we'll give you later. So that's that. I like this mug you chose for me, by the way, the chaplainkit.com. This would probably be a good time, since it's seems to be a lot of self-promoting today. Tell me some more about the Chaplain Kit, or tell our viewers. I know a little bit about it. Tell our viewers about the Chaplain Kit. Oh yeah, I like the mug. We'll get a close-up of that. Well, let's go ahead and do that. See this mug? And the Chaplain Kit. So I started this really in earnest, the website, thechaplainkit.com, really in earnest when I was in Korea. So that would be 2015. I think I kind of started it a little bit before that. The whole purpose was I was starting to collect items, chaplain history items, and I would see things on eBay, and I'd buy it and then I'd realize when it came and I went to put it away, I already had it. So I started this website so that I had a place to put my stuff so that I can go and check it before I buy something or order something. I can check it to see if I've already got it or not. But as that developed and as I was in Korea, because I was unaccompanied, I started to get more items, and I started formulating that a little bit more because I had a little more time. So I would, as I'd get items, I'd post it. But then if I'd get like ephemera, like a letter or an envelope or something, I'd be interested in what that was about and what what the chaplain was like, or who we mailed it to, or he or she, depending on the period. And I'd start to do research. Well, it seemed logical just to put that research on the website. So I started writing stories or papers type things, projects that I'd put on the website. So as it finally came together, and I started collecting more and more stuff, I finally decided that this was something I wanted to work on. More than a hobby. I mean, it's not a moneymaker, of course, but more than just a hobby, but something significant that I wanted to do something with, something that I thought would be valuable to the chaplain community at least, other people that are interested in chaplain history. So I developed my mission, or my goal, my mission with the website, which is, by the way, thechapainkit.com, is to gather, preserve, and share chaplain history. So I started collecting a lot of stuff. I've gotten to know a lot of great guys like Chaplain Bob Ney, and some others that aren't in the military right now, but do living history and things like that. Some great guys just through my collecting. But with that too, I've started doing some living history projects I can talk about later. But I've gotten more and more stuff, and I get it on my website. I find history, and I put it on the website. I get a lot of pictures and different press pieces, memos, magazines, and things like that, old military Stars and Stripes, where there's articles about chaplains. I'll get that and I'll post it. I'll get it on the website. I talk to people and get it on the website. If I come across something good that I find out there on the internet, like Chaplain McCrary, he was doing for a while, I'm not sure if he's still doing it, he was doing, and I can't remember the name of it, but podcasts of talking to chaplains, kind of like this, but just the voices. So he'd talk to chaplains, he'd ask them questions and get this information out. I'd post those on there with his permission, of course. So things like that. So the thrust was chaplain history. I started putting more and more resources on there. Like I've got a page of prayers, sample prayers. So prayers that I've done, prayers that others have done that I've asked if I could add them on the site, some historic prayers. And that prayer page, which is interesting, gets more hits than anything else, almost combined. Every month it's got at least double what the other pages are getting. So resources like that. So that's what the Chaplain Kit is, and through that I've gotten opportunities to work with movies. I've had some of my historic chaplain kits in movies or in a movie, but I get a lot of calls for information, informal consulting, nothing official, and nothing for pay, but just stuff. So I want to get history out there, chaplain history out there. So that's what the Chaplain Kit's about. Thanks for asking. And the Chaplain Kit, by the way, is who's sponsoring this program here. So you just completed work on your D-Min at Wesley Theological Seminary, is that right? Yeah, Wesley in Washington, D.C. Tell us a little bit more about that. So it was the title of the project was Identifying and Filling the Gaps Left by Junior Soldiers' Seminary Education and Initial Military Training. Long title, but that kind of really says what I was trying to do. Because I realized when I first came in the Army, there was a lot I didn't know, a lot my seminary education didn't teach me, a lot that Bullock, at the time it was Bullock instead of, now it's, or Bullock. It was Chobik then, Chaplain Officer Basic course, now it's Chaplain Officer Basic Leader course. But anyway, things that I didn't learn. And no fault of the seminary, because they're not there to prepare chaplains so much. and each seminary can't be the same. They can't. There's not a standard for that. And then no ding on the chaplain school either, because they're not there. Their mission is not to catch up or to fill the gaps left from the seminary. I mean, it's expected that people come in prepared to be a minister, trained to be a minister, and then they go from there with the military aspect. But they're just 12 weeks choping, so there's no way they can do everything anyway. And then there's CPRT, but I was in a gap there when they weren't doing it, so it wasn't required of me. So I realized if I felt that way, if there were things that I didn't know, didn't learn, that would help to make me a better chaplain, there must be others as well. So I thought, well, needing a project, but I kind of felt that. I felt that was a need, and a need that I thought I could do something to help. So I worked on that. The project was done in Fort Wainwright. When I was there most of the time, of course, it was showered with difficulties. The brigade, which held the majority of the chaplains there, got orders for deployment, and then COVID hit, and a number of things. You can read my paper if you want more about that, but that's where I'm coming from on that. The project was good. I think I learned a lot anyway. Hopefully it'll be useful for others as well. So that's my DMin. It's exciting to get it done. I would recommend Wesley Theological Seminary in DC. They've got the DMin in chaplain leadership. I'd recommend that. It's a good program. A lot of chaplains I know in the Army and Air Force and even Navy. Some Nazarene chaplains in the Navy. I'm Nazarene, by the way. Went through the course, so it's well respected. A lot of good speakers, guest speakers they have. Like I sat down in my class when I was there for an hour and a half with Colin Powell, for example. Then chaplain, can't remember her name, but the last Navy chief of chaplains we spoke with. A lot of good speakers. So really good program. I enjoyed it, but I'm glad to be done. It was a lot of work. It's good to be done where I can do other things like this program. We seem to want to help junior chaplains, other chaplains. That's admirable. Chaplain Densford. I know that, and this may be a little of a sore subject. You can wave me off if you don't want to talk about it, but the Lieutenant Colonel Promotion Board results are due out here in a few weeks. And I know that you're above the zone. Yeah. 3 or 4 times. What are your feelings? What's going through your mind? Yeah, it's a little hard to talk about, but I think it could be helpful for some who may be tuning in. I think this look, first week in March, may have been, I think, my 3rd above the zone look. 1, 2, 3, if I remember right, maybe 4th. And everybody has a good reason, of course, why they get passed over. I mean, my paper was good. I didn't get enough top blocks. I remember Chaplain Rutherford at Fort Leonardwood when he was there and he did UMT training. He was there for the prayer breakfast, and he talked about you got to get a heartbeat. You got to have a heartbeat. And up until then, everything had been good. I was promoted to major. With my first look, it wasn't BZ, but I didn't have a BZ look. Every OER was good, and I just trusted that things would just happen. But things didn't just happen. When it comes to getting top blocks as a major, you have to work for it. Well, not why work for it? You have to ask for it. You have to. I don't want to say politic, but you've got to work your commander. You've got to look out for yourself. And again, that's not boasting, or that's not. But if you want to be in ministry and you want to continue in ministry in the Army, that's one of the things you've got to do. So I've had good supervisory chaplains that have weighed in and helped. The ones I did get, it was because of them, but I wasn't active enough with my commanders to really get the top blocks that I needed. So while the write-ups were good, that's the way it is. So how do I feel about that? Well, it's tough when you see your peers going on ahead of you. And I look at them, and every one of them, I wouldn't say that they shouldn't have got it. I mean, every one of them deserved it. They earned it. They're great chaplains. But it's hard to sit back, and especially when they're in a role over you, and have to, it's a yes, sir. That's kind of hard when you started out together and there they go. It's kind of like you're missing that affirmation or that recognition. Not really vindication, because it's not like I was wronged. But it's hard because it's like, all this work, now nearly over 18 years, and still a major. But I've decided, I've determined, God called me, and He'll take care of me. I've still got ministry as a major. I don't need to be a lieutenant colonel to minister. And if I don't get picked up, which is I fully don't expect, I'll be able to retire. I'm looking forward to retirement, so I'll be able to retire in a couple years. But if I do, outside chance, if some quirk of fate or act of God, and I do get picked up this time around, I'll praise God and I'll drive on. I will feel affirmed at that point. I'll feel like, okay, I'm with my peers again. I'll feel good. But if not, God's got a plan. I'll just keep doing what I can do as I am, where I am, do the best I can, because I'm serving God, not serving man, not serving the army, serving God. So I'll just keep doing the best I can with that. And a long time ago, I'm not even going to get, let me talk about that. A long time ago, before I started college or anything, I wanted to go into business and make a lot of money. And I don't know if it was a business as much as the making a lot of money. But I wanted to, I studied business. A lot of things really that helped me later, like I remember reading the Pareto Principle, and a lot of those principles have stuck with me. How to Win for Friends and Influence People, different business books that I read, leadership books that have been helpful. But I wanted to make something, be something, and make a lot of money. And I remember when that just, God didn't really take it away, but I gave it to Him. I was working in Colorado Springs at the time, going to Bible college. And the place I was working, we were picking stuff up or dropping stuff off at the president of the International Bible Society, which is out there in Colorado Springs, where I went to Bible college. And I was in his home, this big, beautiful, massive home in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains that overlooked, it was just beautiful, and it was amazing. And I could see, it was money. It was International Bible Society, but still the president has a lot of work. I'm not here to defend that, but standing there thinking, this is what I wanted for my life. I wanted the money. I wanted to be able to have this kind of stuff, this kind of house kind of thing. And I remember standing there out there on the deck, overlooking beautiful Colorado. I remember thinking, God called me not to this. He called me to ministry, which means giving up my dream of this. I remember that as though it was yesterday. So I gave that up. I remember that was the day I gave that dream of riches up. Of really, being something that way. And I meant it. But then as, days go on, I think, maybe I can have both. Maybe I can minister and still make money on the side, or, still be something. Of course, thinking to have a better ministry, of course. But I had another opportunity then, while still out in Colorado, and there was a casting call for the show Fire by Night. Another thing I always wanted to be was an actor. And I don't know, that could have been because of the fame and the money too, I'm not sure, but that always appealed to me, that I wanted to be an actor. So Fire by Night was this Christian show. It was like a variety type show. They had a sitcom type thing. They had usually a musical guest. They'd have, preaching. It was designed for young people, for teens. And I used it a lot when I was a youth pastor for my teens. But they had moved. It was Blaine Bartell was the producer of that, and he was a star. He was one, the youth pastor that did the speaking. But he had taken a church in Colorado, and Willie George Ministries was the one who started that show. And I'm going on too long on this, I know, but Willie George had let him take that show with them to Colorado, and they started producing again. So they were doing a casting call. And I heard about this, and I thought, well, that's great, 'cause that's ministry. But, I could act, and, who knows what could come from that. So I didn't have a lot of time when I heard about it, but I called and got an appointment to audition. And I worked out this skit I was going to do, and I worked in, a combination of comedy and music, because they had musical guests. So I played that in, and then some seriousness as well, or ministry opportunity. And I thought, this is going to be great, because I knew, I always wanted to be an actor. I could make people laugh. I thought, this is going to be great. I just knew I was a shoo-in. And so I went, and well, first I was surprised by the number of people who were also there, thinking it was a shoo-in, that they were going to get it. But then finally it was my turn, and I went in, and there was Blaine Bartell and his wife. I don't remember her name, Kathy, I think. And one of the other of the actors that were part of the show before that I recognized, and I got really nervous, because I was in there when the guy before me was still doing his thing, and they really liked him. So I was getting really nervous, and I thought, well, I'm here, I got to do it. And I started going through the skit that I wrote, and I just bombed miserably. It wasn't funny, it wasn't serious, it was just awful. I bombed, and I just took that to as God saying, see, you can't do this either. I've got a plan for your life, he said. I felt like him saying, I've got a plan for your life. I've got a call on your life. Just follow me. I'll take care of you. I'll show you where I want you to go, and I'll take care of you when you are where I want you to be. So those were two big lessons that just happened there in Colorado. Two things that I learned that really focused my call, my commitment to God, my commitment to what he has in store for me. So I say all that to say, yeah, I'm kind of bummed getting passed over again. Well, we're yet to see this time, but still, God's called me into ministry. He's going to take care of me. I'll just do the best I can for him, because I've given it all to him. It's his thing. Well, I want to thank Chaplain Densford for being our first guest on Chaplains and Chapels Drinking Coffee. I want to thank you for tuning in. You didn't have to spend your 30 minutes here, but you did, and I appreciate that. I invite you to tune back in when it airs again. We're not saying it's going to be regular, not going to be weekly, monthly, who knows. When we have an opportunity to sit down and get coffee with chaplains that have something to say, we're going to have an episode of Chaplains in Chapels Drinking Coffee. So again, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.